Good morning. Welcome to the Water and Sewer Committee. This is June 27th, 2023. Present at this time are Public Works Director Troy Kruger, Finance Officer Chandra Phillips, Councilman Frank, and Councilman Clunt. Mr. Jensen, the City Attorney, will be joining us later. Troy, I will turn it over to you with these men.
So Mark actually has 4 departments that he's in charge of. He's got public health, the pool, sewer, and water. So I was just touch briefly on pool and public health. Public health, I don't foresee any other than just fuel and product inflation of the product. We'll make the adjustments on that for his. We're not in need of any equipment or anything in that department. The pool, we're probably due for the floor of the pool probably to be repainted this coming season. And we need to get it painted, but we need to get it sandblasted. We also need to get the drains need to be resealed. There's caulking in there, and the caulking's starting to come out, and so the drains aren't draining back in. They're just draining right back into the pool. So that's something that needs to be addressed. Equipment wise, Mark always pulls out a pump or two and has them sent in and has them gone through the bearings and the windings and the starting windings and all that good stuff. So nothing major there with the equipment wise, but we'll have to start calling around and getting quotes on what it's going to cost us to get the pool painted and get all the caulking in the drains redone. And everything else I think is operating pretty good. Haven't heard too much this year about. Last year we did purchase some umbrellas. We did buy some new ones this year. I guess they've been using those, and everyone's been happy. I guess I haven't heard anything, so I assume they're happy. Doors at the pool, that is another issue. The doors and the front doors at the pool are starting to wear out a little bit. We've got Dan up there from True Value today putting a new lock mechanism in because that's getting pretty wore out, but the doors themselves are starting to show some good signs of wear, so I don't know if we can get another season out of those or not, but we'll have somebody look at those. So that's pool. Sewer, we're still working on getting somebody to give us a price on, or even a commitment to come to winter and do some relining this year. That is becoming a major issue all of a sudden. Nobody wants to do any relining for us. Can't even get them to give us a price. So Mark's continuing to work on that. Got DGR's given us some options, some other people to talk to that have done work in the Sioux Falls area and some other projects that they've done, and so we're reaching out to them to see if we can get on their schedule for the fall, or even something before the end of the year, to try and get our sewer relining project done. We do have one block of sewer that we have purchased materials to do. We'll be doing that this summer. We had a sewer collapse, and so we had to put in some temporary fixes, but we're going to redo that whole sewer main. And then next year's budgeting. Sewer department, we're looking at his Vactor. The tanks are starting to leak on the Vactor. Their Vactor's starting to show some wear, so that's probably one thing that he's going to want to look at doing. We just, like 3 years ago, I think we had the tank relined. The truck itself is, in pretty good working condition, but some of the other equipment on the trucks just general maintenance, general wear and tear. Nothing that they've done to it. It's just when you're dealing with corrosive water all the time, things get worn out. Can't think of anything else in the sewer department right now that equipment-wise that we'd be asking for in the upcoming budgeting year. He needs to look into, we need to look in we'll look in more manhole rehabs also. We usually put about $25,000-$30,000 out there each year for doing manholes. We'll continue to do that practice. It's a lot cheaper than replacing manholes. There is one manhole up here on 4th Street. It's not a manhole. We've talked to a couple of contractors about having a manhole put in up on 4th Street, because we've got too long a stretch there, 3 blocks, we have no manholes, so we can't reline it, so. And we've had people that have some sewer issues up in that neighborhood, so that's another project that we need to get done. Maybe if we can't get the rehab, if we can't get the sewer relining done this fall, that might be something that we use that money for, to get that manhole put in. We'll see how that works. Water, there is a couple, working on Adams Street right now. Like to get another block up on A Street done behind the Super Duper. We'll be putting in the water main for the new building that's going up east of town. That's something that we've talked, we've talked about so I guess I have a question with that for the lawyer. We sat down and we talked to Rural Water about territories.
Okay.
And we invited them in, and they came in, and we'd like to draw up a map, They would like a clear definition of where where we foresee our territory and where they, so that there's no gray area there.
Good idea.
We know we're here and they know they're there.
Yep.
We don't, if a customer comes to us and says, hey, we want city water, we can definitely say, no, you're not in our territory. You need to talk to Rural Water. With that, we've already established that we are 317th Avenue is our territory, because we go all the way out to Agramax.
That's 317th is the edge of our territory.
Correct.
Yeah.
So with that, they've requested water service to that building. And Jake Strong and we've got DGR working on easements right now for that. And that's gonna be in place here pretty quick. So I was asked the question, is that it is out of city limits, but it's in our territory. So I think that's our obligation then, to get the service to them.
Yeah, if it's in our territory, it is.
So, and it would be at the city's cost.
No. We make it available to them if they're in our service territory. It doesn't mean that we pay the cost of bringing everything to them.
Okay. I just want clarification on that.
Yeah.
So that's a project that's coming up here. Those easements are being put in place as we speak. We'll be doing that here shortly. They're really going to town on that building. Wow.
They've got a lot of it up already.
Yeah, that on the water side, we'll continue to probably the same practices that we have in the years past. Is we cut back a little bit on our normal 4 to 5 blocks of water main this year because of the highway project, just to free those guys up a little bit. But we did 2, and we're going to try and get 3 done this year. But next year we'll be looking at another 4 to 5 blocks of water main replacement. So that expense will stay. Mark's going to have a little bit of added expenses. We'll have to adjust his budget a little bit because of the census annual payment that we will be making to them. Equipment-wise, he's got a couple trucks that are showing some wear and tear. I think he's probably gonna ask on that side for some equipment. Haven't had that real thorough discussion on that yet. But other than that, I guess with the highway project being done, hopefully being completed this year, I guess the update on that right now is they've pretty much, most of the work that they were doing for the city of Winter was on the north side of the highway. And other than a few crossover sections, that's about all they have left for work for us. They have one sewer main to come across the highway with, one manhole to set, and then they have a short 150-yard chunk of sewer main to replace as they get a little further down the project on the south side. But I would say they're 90% done with the city of Winter work. It's gone good. They've pressure tested everything on the north side. That is all up and functional right now. What they're doing, what the state has allowed them to do now is they've allowed them to hop over, and they're occupying the intersection. So they started here on Van Buren, and they cut a valve in and they tied onto the existing water main, and they're gonna hop down and they're gonna do each area that we have a crossing pipe on, and they'll just get that valve in and they'll hook in onto that water main, so that when we switch over and we do the south side, all they have to do is just lay the pipe in, shut the two valves off, isolate the highway, lay the pipe in, bury it back up, and when they're done, they just turn the valves on and we're ready to go. So that'll simplify that process. And that's about all I have this morning, unless you guys have questions for me.
You said possible vehicle for Mark's department was like a utility one, or what?
Is it possible to what?
Like a utility box vehicle, or what was Mark thinking?
The Ford pickup that he has, that tan one, it's got, I think it's got like 110,000 miles on it now, and it's, with that big box on there, it's getting pretty rough, but
What's that white one sitting down there with no box, no nothing?
oh, that was the light department. That was a vehicle that Craig, the electrician, used to use, and that had a fiberglass box on it, and all the doors were flying open all the time, so we surplused that box. And I actually have one sitting out, and I found one out, and it's an old fire department truck box that's in really good condition, and it's sitting out at Belfouche at the state surplus site. I need to get out there and go get it, but we're gonna put that on that for Ray.
For Ray?
So Ray's got a truck to keep all his tools and his everything in.
I was just curious to see it sitting there, and I was just wondering.
Yep. A new box for that truck was $25,000, I think. So we found one on the surplus site for $1,000, and it's got a rack on it and everything on the top, which we're probably not gonna use, so we might donate that to the fire department if they have a need for it. It's got like a ladder rack on it.
Uh-huh.
It's got some stuff on it that we're definitely not gonna need, but maybe the fire department wants it.
Troy, a question for you on the sewer department expenses. You see near the bottom of the page, the notation of sales tax for $150. I'm trying to figure out what are we paying sales tax for?
That's actually if they sell anything. So if they do any services or work or sell any piece of, I don't know what
Okay.
sewer equipment they would purchase from us, then we have to pay the sales tax back to the state on that.
Now it makes sense, thank you.
That's why it's not a very high number. There's not much that goes through sewer that people
Yeah.
purchase from us, plumbers,
Yeah,
whatever.
that makes sense. Okay, thanks.
Talk to these guys about the meters. How many have been received for the water, and how many have been specifically installed out of those?
Actually, very few have been installed. I'd say maybe 20 at the most. We do have about 250, and we just got them in the last couple weeks. So we're gonna try and knock out that last block of Adams this week. And then the following week, we need to get those 250 radios up and meters in. And that's the goal for that week, is to get all of those 250 meters in. And we're going after the list that we have of meters that Brandy's unable to read, and try and get those knocked out. Continue to keep pressure on Core and Main to keep census people to find us more meters, and they're coming in like a dozen, or there's 17 in a case, and they've been trickling in a case at a time, so.
Will it cause problems on your guys' side? She's gone that week. Will that cause problems with getting everything uploaded the way it needs to?
No. Matt and Ricky will make sure all that stuff it all ends up on the,
With the correct information?
yep. I mean, it'll all drop into place.
Okay.
So, when she gets back, all she has to do is just do a test run, just do a read,
Perfect, thank
do
you.
a mass read on them, make sure they all show up.
So we went from a few to 20% of them have been received, which is pretty good since that call.
They have till October to
Right.
to supply us with the
Yeah.
whole amount, but they know that they know that we have some equipment that's failing, and we're not unable to read it, so they know that we have an urgency to get those done. Same on the electrical side, we actually received our shipment of, last Friday, we received all of our load management switches. They came in, so we now have everything on the electrical side to go forward.
Do the water meters keep us from going forward?
Yep.
I thought so.
And I guess one more note on the highway project. Jake and I have been discussing the highway project. We're gonna come in under budget on the highway project. And he's a little bit concerned about that because if we don't spend a certain amount, I think it's 1.3 million, is what the original cost of the project was 1.7 million. And then we did some sewer relining, and we did some things in there to cut that cost back a little bit. And then I think we came in at like 1.3 million, and that's what we got submitted. And if we come in too much short of that, it might affect the CDBG money that we get. And so he is looking at maybe adding on like another $200,000 onto the project. Just picking one of these side streets and having, see if Reedy's willing to bite on that, get Northern Plains to do, a little bit more work just to bring that cost up, so that when we submit our final numbers, it makes us eligible for more of that grant money.
So we'll still get whatever we submit. That's not the issue. So we'll still get whatever we submit. The CDBG grant is 42.6% of the total project is what they will give to us, up to $770,000. At this point in time, when John looks at it from District 3, we're only going to be requesting $570,000. So there's $200,000 worth of this grant that we are awarded that could be left sitting on the table. Is it the end of the world? Like, if the city doesn't have the ability to match that, then, not a big deal, it goes back. But if the city has the ability to match it, now with this project. And
Is this a
turn it into this
50-50
project,
match?
42.6%
Is
all
ours.
CDB. No, that's what CDBG pays. The rest is ours. Pretty darn close to 50-50, not quite 50-50, but pretty darn close. So if we're gonna spend the $200,000 of CDBG sitting out there, then the city would then have to match approximately $250,000 to $300,000 that would be coming out of our pocket to match that. So if it's cheaper, because we've already got the people here to work on it, don't have to pay an additional mobilization fee, don't have to rip up any more of the street.
Well, actually, it has to be part of this project.
Yes, so exactly, it has to,
They can't hire
Make it
somebody
this,
else, or
yeah.
a sub can't come in, or we can't do the work.
Right.
It has to be part of this project.
Sure.
And it has to be it would just be a change order to the existing project, but
Can I make a suggestion based on, it's been brought up by Councilman Clunt over on your street? Between Second and Third, there's a drainage issue. Is that something that we?
it's gotta be on water or sewer.
yeah,
Storm sewer is the state
Storm
side of the,
sewer is the state side.
that's
Okay,
the state side of the project. It's gotta be on a city utility.
very good. I did not know that. Okay.
And it's all under all we could, if we would decide to go forward with that, all we can do is ask that they would change order in, like a side street. Jake and I drove around and looked at a couple areas, that might be someplace where they could do something, and I'm a little hesitant to do it because $200,000 doesn't go very far these days.
Right.
And I'd sure hate to end up with, going over, finding something, and they have to spend a lot more time and effort in that than they were. I know they're running, the subcontractor has subcontracted, and that party is, I know they're ready to be done and move on to the other projects. They have commitments for the rest of the year, but like I said, all we can do is ask, and they would have to agree to it, and then there would have to be a change order, so it's just something that we're kicking around.
Anything else? Chase?
So
Austin?
is that drain going to be fixed in front of Mel's or not? I know he's been told it is.
They have a solution, and the last thing I remember, Austin, from the plans that I looked at is there's gonna be some extra inlets put up the street a little further,
It'll
but
be at the city's cost, though. DB and I have talked about it. That inlet that's up there, right where that alleyway comes out, it's just way too small. So we need to put in a bigger, and then the pipe that runs underneath that concrete apron that goes down there,
Yep.
when they match up with that, when they come in, when they flip over to the south side, they come up to the end of they come in, I think it's 27 feet or something like that is what they come up off the highway. They come up in that, when they do that, they'll tear that storm sewer out. We have to see what's in there. We don't know what's in there. We know it's just metal pipe up in the alleyway, and we think what they did is just shoved a pipe in a pipe and stuck a drain on it. But without tearing it up, we're not 100% sure, so
Okay.
when they redo it down on the highway, then we'll know what's there and we can match up with it and put a bigger inlet there, and then we can replace that valley gutter that goes down right in front of his parking areas.
Okay.
they had a plan though, and it was extra inlets, and I didn't know if that CDBG
We were actually
would
gonna do it last
qualify.
year, and Mal was, DB and I looked at it, Mal didn't think that, he didn't, he wants it fixed, right? I get it, his business sits lower than the street.
It does.
So if we can't contain that water to the drain and the valley gutter, then it runs over and it goes right into the door of his building, so we want to make sure we get it right.
Okay.
On the 2024 budget expense side, I don't know if any of you have taken the time to look at what I've sent out. And I know I've talked about this in several committees, but with the restructuring of how we're paying employees, it did double sewer's personal services expense line. Granted, it took that out of the water side, so it's just, shifting of where the money's coming from. But I just want to remind people, when you see that this year the budget's 70,000 and next year it's 140,000, that's why we are exchanging how we're paying people out.
Yeah.
Rather than it being just one employee out of sewer and 3 out of water, now it's essentially 2 and 2 because they're 50-50 on their job duties. I mean, sewer revenues are looking at $450,500.
And even with personal services and the loans in there, you're at 328, so, for expenses. So you've got the money.
Doesn't leave a lot for projects.
It doesn't, but when you look at their previous year's projects, you know, sewer relining hasn't
Sewer's
didn't
actually,
happen last year, and then this year it's at 150. I'm not sounding super hopeful, but
sewer's actually looking good for a change instead of being lagging way behind like it has the last 4 or 5 years. I think we're done. We do have a few things that we need to talk about off camera.
Don't want to say that.